Welcome, Peacemakers. I am Jennifer Boyat. I'm delighted to have you join us at the Rise of the Peacemaker, a conversation with leading peacemakers. It is time for our leaders to be peacemakers and for peacemakers to be our leaders. And it is my privilege to be joined here today by JoAnn Miller. JoAnn is the author of a book, Paradise, a story about the world after the shift. She is a sister mentor at the Ascension School of Spirituality, where she teaches classes and healings and does many other, beautiful intuitive offerings. JoAnn is a peace prophetess and a catalyst for the movement of peace in this world. Welcome, JoAnn.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, I would like to give you the chance to kind of tell your story. What brought you to feeling the calling for peace, or however you would describe your calling, in this world, how you chose it or how it chose you.
Okay. That's always interesting to me because it's like, there's no one particular thing. But I will say that I came into this world with a knowing. And I didn't have a lot of support on that. My 4 siblings and I were raised by elderly grandparents, and we're also raised Catholic, and that none of that jived very much with what I was kind of feeling. So I went through life thinking there was more. That's what the knowing was about, was thinking there's more than what appears here. I can remember as a very young child walking down the lane to our house thinking, is this all there is? You just get born, you get married, you have kids, you get older, you die, So life went on. I did all the things, marriages, children, jobs, all this type of thing. But I always felt a void. There was something missing in my life. And I knew I was here to do something. As a result of having that feeling, I didn't always pay attention to what was going on in the present. I don't recommend that for anybody, because timing, I totally believe in divine timing. So when my father died, it was like I went to the library and a book fell off the shelf saying There's Life After Death by Sherwood Willie, I think. That's probably not even right. But anyway, what it did was it echoed my feelings that there was a consciousness in everything. And so that was the beginning of a trip into tuning my intuition to where I can start working with that, working with people with that. And the years went by, and that's what made a difference. And then I channeled the book that you mentioned, Paradise, a short story about the world after the shift, 17 or 18 years ago. And if you were to read it today, you would think I'd written it yesterday, because everything is in alignment with what the information I received. So what I have found is it all boiled down to peace. I was always looking for that inner peace, the outer peace. I always believed that there was no reason for us not to be in peace. And it occurred to me that when I spoke, people felt better after I spoke with them. And I thought, gosh, that's really easy, because I see that we're all one. I see that we're all doing our best. And I see that we just need an opening to who we are. So it's when I say I'm a peace prophetess, I decided that. Who better to decide who you are than yourself, right?
I agree.
Nobody knows you better than yourself. Because it finally made sense what I enjoyed doing. And you go through life and you think, how can I ever make anything work if I can't afford to go do this and that? Peace comes wherever you're sitting. If you smile at somebody, if you say a kind word to somebody, it's huge. It's huge. So that's, it's taken a long time for me to get to where I'm at, and once again, I think it's all divine timing.
That's beautiful. And that kind of brings me to maybe emphasize or come around a little bit, because you and I are both, like you said, I've raised my family, you've raised your family. We went through some of the traditional things, and then you get to that spot and you're like, So I guess you could say we're in our more mature years. And I think, I think whatever age you are, you have something to contribute, but just to maybe encourage people who are at our same time of life, how can we make a choice about our callings, whatever that is, or our contribution to peace, or whatever it is we feel called to.
Absolutely. And I think, in this country, kind of, the elderly are invisible to a degree. And it really shouldn't be that way. The elderly have a lot to offer. And so I love the idea of encouraging the wisdom keepers to step up, to speak up, to not be afraid, this type of thing, to not to fall through the cracks just because that's what the outer world is promoting. There's so much we do as individuals that we're just not aware of. We don't realize the power that we hold. And that's one of my greatest passions, is to help people wake up to the fact that we're sovereign. We hold the power of peace. It's all about us. We carry the light within us. We radiate that light. That's an important job. Now, a lot of people just smile and say that's lip service. That's what's real. That's what's truly real, is the light we carry within us, our own power. Each one of us carry that. And so we all came in here to meet the challenge. This is an extremely amazing time to be on this planet. Mm-hmm. It may, and it reflects quite the opposite, but it isn't. We're seeing what's been going on, but we know truth. And the light is the greatest power there is. There's so much light shining on this planet now. That's why we're seeing what's coming out of the dark. It's being lit up for everyone to see.
Makes sense.
And it's just a beautiful time. And I know that what you're doing with these what do you call what you're doing?
Conversations, interviews, conversations.
Yeah, with these conversations, is there are people waiting to hear these, and it's their wake-up call. Regardless of who you are interviewing, it's like, oh, there are things happening on this planet that we're not being told about, that we're not seeing on mainstream media. There's a lot of peace movements going on in this planet. And there's far more than I think even you or I know about.
I agree. I think there's people who wake up every morning and just live their calling, and I just would like to, like you say, spread that out a little bit more. But yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think the challenges that we see, well, every age has their challenges. I mean, I'm not sure I would have liked to have lived through World War II, you know what I mean? Right. But every challenge, I think, has a gift to reveal too. So yeah, as the Chinese proverb says, or there's a meme like that, May you live in interesting times.
And you know, and we do. And
Yeah.
my truth, which is not everybody's truth, is that we beg to be here at this time.
Mm.
Souls, because this is that big of an event on this planet, because we are going into a time of peace. And it can be very quick. It doesn't need to be 20 years down the road. You know, I fully expect to see it. And yeah, absolutely.
I feel like it's like you know how sand glass or something like that, that everything kind of toggles through, but there's at some point there's that last piece of sand and then whoo.
And then there you are, you know, it's like we're crossing these bridges. You see a lot of releasing happening right now. You know, people on a personal level and on a larger level, you know, and when you see big weather events, that's a release, you know, that's the Mother Earth releasing. And so we're all releasing things that cannot survive in the higher vibration that we are living in now. And the vibration is increasing. One way you can tell that is by how time passes. You know, there's a huge difference in the span of time anymore. You know, I've heard of children saying, "Oh, I liked Christmas better when it didn't come so often." You know, so it isn't just an age-related thing like they used to say. Oh, the older you get, the faster it goes. You know, it's actually speeding up.
Actually, I experience both ways because I feel more able. Of course, this is a lot of personal work I've done as well, but I feel more able to dilate time to have the space I need for things too. So
absolutely, and absolutely, because there is no time we can do that.
Yeah.
You know, literally, there is none, and that makes me think about, Jennifer, how important it is to live in the moment. And that's where we've gotten lost also, is we live in the past or we live in the future, and we forget that everything is happening right here, right now. And that's the only guarantee we have, is this moment. And so if we're totally absorbed in past events that have happened, or totally absorbed in the future and what we're going to do in the future, we miss out on what's actually real. And that takes a lot of practice. And I noticed a couple mornings ago on my walk, and it's not quite light when I'm taking my walks. And so I was really practicing observing and being in the moment. And it's like, oh, I kind of understand what people are saying when they talk about the matrix or the holograms, because you look around and you think, oh, this is just me. I could be in any place for any outside thing. So being in the moment is really something we need to stress more and more and more with people. I know I spend a lot of my life not being in the moment.
Right. I agree. And maybe you kind of already answered this, or maybe there's a part B to this, but one of the things that I like to ask or ponder, you know, we talk about what we can do for peace, which we will in a minute, but I also kind of like to pose it this way, like, what is our barrier to that, whether it's personal or in our communities or the world, of whichever level you want to address, or maybe it's all of them, but like what do we kind of need to dissolve? And it could be an action, it could be a belief, but like what do people get wrong? What are some of our misunderstandings and unfortunate habits that we have, that if we just take that little veil or something away, or if we could all just stop doing this one thing, and of course it never is just one thing, but just for the sake of the question, if there's just one thing that we could remove that would kind of let in some floodgates of peace and those beautiful things, what do you think that is? And maybe, you know, when we're talking about presence, that may be one thing, so maybe choose something else, or, you know.
I can.
Yeah,
I can, and it's not going to make me very popular.
oh.
And that's turn off your news reports. Turn off the news on TV. Turn it off. You're not going to find anything peaceful there. My truth is it's not truth to begin with. So I'm saying, turn that off, get some quiet. That's what's missing. And watch when people that you deal with, that you hang out with, see if you feel good after you've hung out with them. You know, I can say what I'm saying right now to several of my family, and they will say, it can't happen, JoJo. It can't happen. You just don't understand. The world isn't made that way. Well, yeah, I do understand how the world's made. We create our own creation, you know, but I'm not going to change their mind. What I do is I send them light, but I don't take up residence with them. They're my family, they're my friends. I spend a limited amount of time with them because there are people who are willing to stand up and believe in peace. That's the other thing. There's a lack of belief in peace because we have not anything to relate it to. This is a planet of warring. So people don't have anything. Yeah. So once again, you know, imagination is how you create your reality. And so people have to start practicing how that would look. And I always go to, God, wouldn't everybody want everybody to have good food, clean water, a roof over their heads, and the peace and happiness and joy to be able to pursue their passion? To me, that's given. I would want that for everybody. I want it for myself. Why would I not want it for anybody else?
Yeah.
You know?
I think that first step of belief that's even possible is one of the most difficult, courageous things to do, because you have to believe in something we're not necessarily seeing on a daily basis, depending. I mean, and then my next thing I would say is I do see it. I do surround myself with you know, groups and people that I do experience a lot of daily peace. And even when I don't, you know, like you say, you come to the present moment and like what's happening here, like there might be something I need to learn or someone I can serve, but because it doesn't have to be comfortable all the time, you know. We don't always have to be like super cheerful. Peace is not necessarily being super cheerful all the time. Sometimes it's the room to completely grieve, you know.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
So then let's ask if there, again, it's never necessarily just one thing, but what would be your top advice for someone if they wanted to just make that next step toward peace? What would be your top advice? Something they could do even in the next 24 hours that would lead them to that.
Be still. Be still. Take 15 minutes a day and sit quietly. Don't give it up. Go ahead and imagine yourself as light. Just imagine. That's all it is. Don't make fun of yourself. Don't control what you're thinking. Just sit and be still. And you know, for a lot of people, that's going to take a week's worth of 15 minutes to even, because I've never been a meditator. I've never been able to focus, you know. When I quit trying to focus, then it worked a lot better. But it's just being still and breathing and looking around you and saying, there's no war going on here.
Mm-hmm.
I have food in the cupboards. I have a job. I have money. I have this, that, or the other, you know, and everybody, even if they're a little short on this, or this, they've still got something to be grateful for. So gratitude has to come in there very strongly, because the more we work on gratitude, the more we have to be grateful for, because we start seeing all the little things that we take for granted. So I do think just taking some deep breaths, taking 15 minutes for yourself. I was given the peace principles a long time ago. And the first one is love yourself. Love yourself first. And you know, it's like when the oxygen things come down in the plane if you're going to have an accident, and they say, parents, do your own oxygen first and then your child's. Okay, that's what it's all about. You have to take care of yourself first, or you're not going to be any good to anybody else.
Wonderful.
So yeah, so if you're, and then start paying attention. There are so many signs out there for every single one of us. Pay attention to the animals around you. Pay attention to workshops you see, books that catch your eye. Be like a child. Like, oh, something exciting is going to happen today. I'm going to see something, and you will.
Nice.
You will. Yeah. Just, you start being so grateful for the little things, an owl flies by you, and that's a huge message.
Or an owl. Just it's a beautiful owl.
That's right. That's right. Or yeah, and it doesn't have to be real. I mean, you can go in a store and all of a sudden you're surrounded by owls, and it's like, oh, I need to find out what owls signify, because this is a message for me.
Could be. Yeah. And I would add too, if you can't start with 15 minutes, I mean, you can start with 30 seconds of stillness. I know I've had to do things like that, like just 2 breaths, Jen. So
right. It's like honoring your worth. We go through these lives and many lives where we put ourselves last. We're taught that it's selfish to take care of ourselves, to love ourselves. That gets into your cells. That's a hard thing to break. But then you find out how much more marvelous you are, and how much more marvelous you feel when you take care of yourself. Then it's like, it's easy to be there for whatever else is needed. But you have to become very, very, what's the word? You're going to do it. You're going to do it. You can't say, well, tomorrow, because this guy needs me today. The kids need me right this moment. I just don't dare take. No, you have to be very protective of that little bit of time that you give yourself.
Makes sense. Well, JoAnn, I've had a lovely conversation with you, and the time has already passed. But is there anything?
My gosh.
I know. Is there any other message or remarks that you'd like to give to anyone who may be listening?
I just hope that they will take a chance on themselves. Turn off the news, look around, go get a good book, watch a comedy on TV, do something really, really good for yourself. Start following some people, start joining in with the happy people, and you'll find out how absolutely amazing our life is, and how much more amazing it's about to be, because we are in amazing times.
Thank you. And hopefully you are watching this where there is a page where you'll be able to learn a little bit more about JoAnn and what she has to offer. There'll be some information there about her as a panelist, and little spotlight there. So I encourage people to explore a little more. But thank you, JoAnn, and I think we just solved the problems of the world. So anyway, thank you for your time.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you, Jennifer.
Goodbye.